Hey, this is Scott. Uh, I'm doing a test here. I'm using my lavalier microphone. I have an air conditioner in this room, a little one. It's a small room. It gets hot if I turn the air conditioner off. So I'm going to try leaving it on and see just how bad it is. And you can tell me. And got a little different setup here today. We are going to be talking about macro bellows units today. And this particular one. And actually, 3 different models. So come back and let's get going. Today I want to talk about bellows units. I have a few different ones here and I'm going to talk about them and how they're different. If you start to research them and you look at them, because they are made by, or let's say they were sold by about all the major companies. Olympus, Nikon, I believe Minolta had them, Yashica, Contax, Canon, all had bellows units. If you look at them, you'll notice that some seem very similar. So I would say some of them came out of the same factories, and then they were just labeled and marketed under the different brand names. Now, one style, let me get this guy out of the way, is the Canon. And this is a Canon bellows unit. This is a later model. This is the Auto Bellows. There was an earlier model that kind of like ran on rods. I would probably look for this one if I was you. It is a singular piece that you have your upper I don't know what you'd call these. Basically, these trucks that ride on the rails, and then you have your lower unit, which is like a focusing unit. So this will let you, if you have this mounted on a tripod, and you are turning this, the entire unit will move. So essentially, if you've set your magnification and everything, you can kind of then focus this way. You can also, if you do stacking, you can kind of use this one to kind of make small movements while you hit the shutter a few different times. They usually had a relatively standard lens designed to go with them. In this case, this is a Canon 50mm 3.5 macro. This is the breech mount. If you had ever had Canon, they had the breech mount, then they had the bayonet later. They were both compatible. They just went away from the breech mount, which I don't know why, because it was pretty secure. But who knows why camera companies do what they do. So there you go. So you have the front area, which allows you to move, and this one is controlled from either side. So either you have right or left control. Locking it is on the left, and then it is pretty solid depending on how hard you turn that. Now the rear standard is a little bit different. It has a lock, but it is on the right-hand side, and moving it is on the left-hand side. So that's where it varies a little bit. The back here can rotate, so you can either have the camera, show it there, so you can rotate it. So when the camera is attached, which you would have to use an adapter, so in this case you would need a Canon FD to whatever your camera is. I used to use this with my Panasonic and Olympus, and I do not have an adapter for it for my Fuji or my Panasonic, so I can't show you a camera attached to it. But as you can see, it's one solid, sturdy unit. Now, one of the great features, one of the ones that's most important to me, is just about all of these Bellow units also have the option of attaching a slide copying unit. And in this case, this is the Canon one. It attaches to the end of the Bellows, and then you have little clips here that grip a hold of the front here, and that basically holds the Bellows in place. And you put that up there, so now when you're moving the camera, the Bellows move with the lens. And this stops stray light from getting in when you're trying to copy negatives or slides. There's little rails here, so if you're doing film, the film will ride inside those rails. If you're doing slides, you would drop it into the slot back here, and then you have a little white piece of plexiglass to diffuse the light going into it. And essentially, you just take a picture of it. So you can either use a constant light source or you can use a flash to expose it. This one also has a film reels. So if back then, especially in the world of science, they would have bulk film, like 250 frame packs, whatever. And this thing is pretty much removable like that. And then the other thing we have here, then I have to use these. I only have one screw for the end here, so I have to take it off of here and put it onto this guy. And this is like a little macro stand. I forget exactly what they called them. After I attached here, you can see that kind of like a little microscope. You can put your thing that you want to photograph down here, and then you can sit there and set your magnification. Probably need to lock this up a little bit so it doesn't run out of control. And essentially there, create your image. So this is a nice little set. This one's nice because I have kind of the Canon one pretty much complete. Now, besides for Canon, I have a Contax unit, and we'll start talking about it from the slide perspective. This one operated a little differently. Instead of it being attached to the end like the Canon unit did, this slide attachment attaches right here. So it's hooked to this front standard on the Contax and Yashica units. This particular unit is a Yashica. This one is a Contax. If you look at them closely, you will see that they share many things and obviously came out of the same factory. There was a Yashica and a Contax unit that was just like this, just with different labeling on the front. And then this one has a few extra features which we'll go into, but this one has tilt and shift options. And so let's go back to the slide. We didn't talk about this on the Canon, but when you put a slide in, you can see that the same basic operation is here. You got a little thing you can flap down. There's some little guides here for film to ride on, so you can close that. I do have, this one had a bulk reel option as well. It screws in down here. I really don't have any reason to use it, so I unscrewed it and took mine off. because they just don't need it. They didn't make it as easy to take off as the Canon one. So probably would have been nice if they made it easier to take on and off, but it just takes a little screwdriver and you can take it off. And like I said, for me, I wouldn't be switching back and forth. It's also, even if you leave it on, you can see it's not quite as husky as the Canon one is. So it's a lot less annoying to leave it on as well. One of the nice features this one had, whereas you saw the Canon had clips, this one has little magnets in here, kind of ahead of its time there. You know, magnets are very like in now, but you didn't see this kind of thing so much in the old days. So instead of having a clip that clips onto it, it's got little magnets that once you put it back, it holds the bellows inside this metal housing. Now, in order for this to attach to the lens, there was usually an adapter that basically looks like a step-up ring, but there is no thread in here. All it basically is a collar that attaches to the lens like a step-up ring. And probably shouldn't have taken it off. There we go. And so once you have that attached to the lens, it basically allows you to take this and drop it in, and then this clamps on, and now you can sit there and adjust this or adjust this, and it stays on the lens, and this stops stray light from getting in. So when you're sitting there deciding what magnification you want, whether you want to just do a full slide copy or you just want to copy a piece of it, you can control that this way. And like I said, it is different in the fact that it attaches to this front standard. One of the things I did not show on the Canon, but it's also valid. Let's see, take the lens off here. This is how this attaches. As you can see, it's a lot easier to do with the lens off, so that's how you put the slide attachment on. And if I didn't mention it, this lets you center the slide, so you can either push it side to side or up and down and center the slide when you're going to take the copy of it. And it's pretty much that about it. Now, the thing I didn't mention was that in both the Canon and this one, there's a feature that allows you to disconnect this. Nice if they put magnets so it would hold it while you do this. And it allows you to reverse this. Now, where this comes important to those people who are familiar with macro photography, if you don't have a dedicated macro lens, most lenses will be better in macro if you reverse them. So essentially this lets you reverse the lens and still have it work as a Bellows unit. Go ahead and stretch that out. And of course, again, you can just change your camera as you see fit. So let's go ahead and put this back to the standard way, since we have a standard Bellows lens on there. As you can see, you can get a lot of extension off of there. can always push this. And if I did not mention it, one of the nice things about this, if you wanted to, I have an Arca Swiss plate down here. But one of the interesting things Yashica Contacts did is this bottom rail is actually Arca Swiss compatible. Not everybody understands where Arca Swiss came from, but Arca Swiss was originally a large format camera producer, Swiss. Sadly, they probably don't get money for all the Arca Swiss plates that now exist in the world and people who use them. I am a huge, avid fan of Arca Swiss plates, and that's what I use on all of my cameras. My camera has an Arca Swiss plate on it. Someday I will go into details about just what I do with my Arca Swiss erector set of things to use. So you could take this off if you wanted to save weight. But again, that other nice feature is, oops, wrong one, is you can get this out of the way. Go ahead and put this back in the thing using the bottom adjuster. Put this over here. Whereas the Canon unit is one piece, this one is actually two pieces. So you can actually take the upper rail of this from the bottom rail. So if you want to go light for some reason, you can actually leave this piece at home. It's possible to handhold this, but not ideal when you're trying to do that kind of level of magnification. It's pretty difficult to hold it and get everything you want, but it's possible. One of the other neat features is there are still 1/820 threads here, and it has little cutouts in it that makes it fit into the lower rail here. And as long as I have it lined up properly, which I seem to be having difficulties. Okay, let's try again. Okay. Oh my God. What's wrong with me? There we go. You can actually attach, you got a front and a middle mounting. You can mount it this way, and you can actually then use this like this. And so then you, let's see, we can kind of show this. We have kind of a sideways control, and then we have our controls up here. So not sure why you would need to use that, but it's there. I haven't come to a great reason to do it, but maybe. You never know. And it's nice to have flexibility, but I do like the fact that I can take the whole thing off, because the Bellows isn't that terribly heavy at this point. So it's quite doable to do that. I'm going to go ahead and reattach it. It went much smoother. And then there is also on both sides, a cable release, traditional cable release. When you have a button, basically that will close down the diaphragm on the manual lens. And with our digital cameras, especially mirrorless, you might actually choose to push it in and turn it, which then locks it in place. Probably can't see inside there, but now it's locked, which is usually how I use it, because the way mirrorless digital cameras can increase the viewing light, whatever, you can pretty much still not expose, you can still pretty much focus and do what you have to do. Because obviously this is a manual focus arrangement. You're using old manual focus lenses and the bellows and an adapter to get it on your camera. So that is pretty much it. You got the Contax units, you got the Canon units. I will be selling mine. And then you have the fancy deluxe unit here, which allows you to shift, and if we loosen this, to tilt. So pretty interesting. Personally, if that is not the kind of features you think you'd get any value out, I would get this unit. It's a lot less trouble to think about it staying in alignment and everything else, because everything's pretty much solid, whereas anything that moves around, you can fuss with alignment. Although it's nice, because if you're in a position where you cannot get straight to some small object you're trying to focus, being able to do a little tilt can do magic to get it. Again, I know there's a lot of things we can do in Photoshop, but there's a lot of things that if you can just get the shot right the first time, you're better off. But again, that's only on very close things that you're taking pictures of. There are Bellows lenses available. They're usually very expensive when you find them. I shouldn't say very expensive. Everything is relative. But I don't like to spend more than about $200 if I am buying a vintage lens. And they usually, you can find them. Wait long enough, one will come your way. But oftentimes, the people selling them, especially if they're professionals or you're trying to buy it out of Japan, they'll be asking anywhere from $250 up to about $400. And some of them just have the patience to wait till they get a rich guy who's got the money to just blow and get it, versus someone like me who really doesn't like to spend more than $200, so I kind of wait and hope for bargains. So that's it. I hope this little conversation on Bellows units was helpful. I will be doing one and literally showing slides, but I'm going to basically promote that as slide copying and using a Bellows. But basics, you can do it. There, I'll literally show you how to do it. So expect that soon. Otherwise, I do have a spot down below where you can donate, but I realize times are tough for everybody, and that doesn't usually happen. But what you could do to really help me out is subscribe. Essentially, you need to get to a certain level before you can make any kind of money off of YouTube. So essentially, this is just something I do to help out, and with COVID-19, not getting out there much. So if you can, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.